Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your guest, your host. I have a guest, by the way. This is your host, Steve Ramona. See, this is live. You know, we live. I make mistakes like everybody else, but I'm excited because I have a guest today that's very unique, but she's successful because she worked through the hard times of business, being in an industry that most women have to fight to get in, and she's done so well, and she's doing well, and she's doing better in this industry. Mara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I told you, I just love your presence. You make me really happy just being here and talking to you.
I love that because that's what it's all about. And I loved your story we talked about in the green room before the show. But I want to ask you, what's the most influential person in your life?
There's been a lot of influential people that have helped me along the way, but I would say the one person that stays continuously influential is my mom. I know that sounds so crazy or maybe cliche, but my mom is probably the most unconventional person that I know, and that's why she's so influential. For my entire life, I never realized this until later that I have always been comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I attribute that to her. Unfortunately, life did not deal her the greatest hand. My father died when I was 6 years old, so he was 38 years old. My mom was 41 and left with just me, an only child. And the one thing that I remember or I recall, I remember the grieving, the mourning, but I also remember like things happen in life and it's unfortunate, but you're never going to use that as a crutch in anything that you do. And that was kind of the whole mantra my entire life is that it is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to be hard, but regardless of what happens, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that has stayed with me my entire youth, my entire life, my entire career, being a mom, being a business professional. And, it's just a lesson that never, ever is forgotten because of the way that she reacted. And that's kind of how it was my entire life. She was super supportive. Anytime life knocked me down, it was never, poor, woe is me. It was always get back up, do what you need to do, put your face back on, and you got to fake it till you make it, Mara. That's what that's what it's always been. And today, she is my biggest cheerleader. She'll come anywhere to see me speak. Just she's an incredible, incredible human being. I can't even, I really can't even speak enough about her and give her enough praises because she really is not only the greatest person in my life, but she's the greatest, most influential person in my entire life.
That's powerful. And I love that she didn't let you struggle. And you could have. Then people would have sympathy for you because she's a single mom with a daughter. She's trying to grow, help grow up and all that. But what's interesting, we talked before, you run a team. You have a team. You've been doing insurance for 15 years. How much has your mom influences helped you manage and lead this team?
That's kind of funny, actually, because when I first got into this realm, she was not very supportive of it. She wanted, her nice daughter, only child, to become a lawyer. And that's not what happened for me. Unfortunately, long story short, the economy happened and I couldn't go to law school. So at the time, I had to think quick. I was already newly married. I had my first child and I was recruited into insurance. And I remember her being like, "You've never sold anything in your entire life and you're going to go into a commission only. Like, what are you doing?" And I remember her just like, "Mara, this is not a good idea. This is not." And then and I failed. Look, I was not good. I wasn't good for a long time. And every time I failed, although I know she wanted me to become a lawyer, she still stood in my corner and pushed me and made me get up every single time. Like failing was not an option. And of course I learned that from her. So every time she'd point to the fact, you have a daughter, you have a family, you need to keep going. And that was the same thing my entire business life. So anytime to this day, even to this morning, if I'm having a bad day or I'm just wanting to throw the towel in because I think everybody experiences that. She is the one that is like, you have to get up. You have a greater purpose than yourself. This is not about you. This is about something way bigger than you, Mara. And she constantly reminds me, she grounds me and brings me down to earth. So she has a huge part. She even ended up working for me later on, which is so crazy. But yeah, she did the recruiting for me. And now she's just my sounding board. Anytime I need her to proofread something, anytime I need her unbiased opinion in something, anytime I need her to be brutally honest, she is my number one go-to person.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, being honest with you, saying, what are you doing with this insurance thing? But let you go through that. I mean, not that she was going to stop you, but she still supported you, even though she's like, are you crazy? That's a powerful mentor.
Yeah, she did. She's always supportive of the craziest things, but she's definitely supportive of everything that I do.
Right. When you lead teams, you're a mentor, obviously. What lessons you learned from mom that helped you mentor your team?
To be open-minded. My mom is a woman beyond her time. My mom was born in 1946. She's going to kill me that I even said that out loud. But she looks, first of all, she looks amazing. Okay. She has Benjamin Button syndrome. She's aging backwards. My mom still watches my kids. She goes to the gym every day. So I don't even need to like explain what kind of woman she is, but um she is the one that is always there was such an open mind in my house and an open heart that it really allowed me to be open-minded to races, to religions, to genders, to sexuality, which is kind of unconventional for the time that she grew up in. But, she always brought that in, that there was no bias coming in. There was none. There was no prejudice coming in. You look at people as if they're people, and that's helped. And not only that, like she always tells me she taught me the most materialistic things in life, which is probably true. So that, and one of the biggest things was you have to put your face on all the time. You have to look the part no matter what. And you fake it till you make it. It doesn't matter how that looks, where that's going. And it's believable, because if you're confident and you believe in yourself, everyone else will believe in you too. But at the same time, you stay authentic, you stay humble, and you never forget where you come from. And I've always taken those principles. I still like the materialistic things. I definitely do, but it's only a part of me. It's just not everything that encompasses me.
Right. And it's a gift to yourself. You've done all
Right.
this. So powerful.
Absolutely.
Lifts
Yeah.
your soul. And that leads to what we talked about in the green room, which I love that you said, because to be a servant, this is doing business with a servant's heart. You need to be authentic. So when did
Yeah.
you start becoming authentic to yourself, more important than to everybody else?
That's a really good question, because I think I would say people in general, but most women, we have so many insecurities, like if I could speak to my younger self, the one thing I would say to my younger self is be you. You don't have to conform to anybody else. And when you finally come into that where you are comfortable with who you are, you see the authenticity start to shine through, but then you also see this vulnerable piece. And what I've learned from doing this for 15 years is that people appreciate you more when you are vulnerable, when you are real, when you're raw, when you are authentic. I use that word so much because that is a huge part of people that they don't want others to see. You're constantly putting on this face. And as I've done this for so long, what I've realized is people just want you to be relatable. You don't have to be above them. The one thing I say all the time, especially for my agents, is I serve them. They don't serve me. I work with them. They don't work for me. And that's a really big thing. And once people realize that I'm just like them, I'll go to one of my friends who is now my friend, he was my agent 2 years ago. He got engaged, and off a whim, he's like, hey, I'm going to propose to my girl at my house. Would you mind coming? I'm like, of course, send me the address. And I remember him looking at me like, wait, you're going to come to my house? I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'm looking at him like, why wouldn't I come to your house? And, later on, he was like, because when I looked at you, I saw you as a superior, but I think I just never see myself like that. I always see myself, I started as an agent, just like everybody else here. And I don't think I've ever seen beyond that. And once people see that my core is real, and my core is never with the intention to hurt, but only help, that makes a big difference, a world of difference for everybody.
Yeah, they're just labels. If you're a
Yeah.
director, lead rep, whatever that, it's just a label. We got humans talking to each other, and authenticity is gone. Social media, on TV, I should say it's gone, but it's missing. And
It's true.
unfortunately, it's an outlier now. When you're authentic, you're much different. When it should be the other way, I have no control. You have no control over the world like that. But I love what you said about I work for them, they don't work for me.
It's true.
Where'd
It's
that
true. That's a
start?
big so I had a mentor myself when I first came into this, and she's my best friend in the entire world. And I remember coming in into this male dominated field. So I came in 25 years old into a field that was a predominantly white male field. And I had this woman and her sister that basically recruited me into insurance. And we looked very different from the demographics that we were working with. And basically she changed the entire realm of what the company looks like today. Today there's a lot of diversity. There is, all different genders, there's different creeds, whatever, different races, religions. And she had nothing, literally nothing. But I remember her believing more in me than I believed in
Hmm.
myself. And once I saw that, when you believe in people, when they're really down and out on their luck, and I was desolate at one point, that always stuck with me. And I always figured, this is really the way that it's supposed to be. You have to give back. It doesn't necessarily have to be with money. In the Jewish religion, there's a thing called tzedakah, and tzedakah is when you give back. It doesn't necessarily mean with money. It could be with time or energy, but you give back. And I'm a huge believer in that. Not only do I give back and I serve my agents, but I also try to do community service projects at least once or twice a year, just for, no other reason other than it humbles you, right? It makes you humble, but it feels really good to give back. I mean, when I'm done giving back or painting something or meeting children that suffer from disabilities, I feel really good that I made the effort to go out there and give back. So, just learning along the way that you have to give back. There's no other way around it. We are so blessed in this industry and just blessed in general. And I feel blessed that I want to give back everything that I've been able to accomplish. It just feels right. That's what we should be doing.
That's so well said. You're a sister from another mother. I say this all the time. Of course, that's part of my show. But that
Yeah.
leads to a great question in my mind is what do you want your legacy to look like?
That's a really good question. I think about that a lot. I have three children. I have a daughter that she's going to be 16. Well, she's going to be 16 years old. I have a son that is 13, and then I have a 5-year-old. So for me, the two older ones saw me struggle. I wasn't always successful. They saw me work very, very hard. They all three of them see me sacrifice constantly. I'm on a plane every 8 to 10 days, flying around to my offices. They know, unfortunately, if I can't be at a basketball game or a dance recital, I'm working.
Yeah.
So for me, what I want them to know is that hard work is important, right? But income is the outcome. It's never the objective. And you do things and you do them without obligation. And whatever you do in life, you do it at 100%. And again, with authenticity, and never be afraid to be who you are. The sky's the limit. I believe that. And that's kind of what I want to leave behind to my kids, is that you literally can do anything in this world. There is nothing, there are no parameters, there are no bumpers that you cannot overcome. You can do and be anything you want. And I want them to know that. And that is what I preach to them all the time. The word can't, this is a big thing. I don't let my daughter especially say can't or I'm afraid. That she's not allowed to say either one of those words. So when she says something, she'll turn around and say, okay, mommy, I'm apprehensive. Or she'll rephrase it that I can do this. However, I'm a little apprehensive too. And those are just negative words that we don't use. So I want them to know that they can do anything in this world.
You live the life because you said a powerful word I want the audience to hear is overcome. You didn't say the obstacles because that's negative, which I used to use, but overcome these things, overcome. means you can do it if you put the effort. I love that and how you said that word. And legacy is important, especially when you have kids or a
Yeah.
team or whatever it may be. And I don't think people think about it enough. And I appreciate you saying all that. Regards to when you get involved with your team in insurance and there's a big problem, how do you handle as the leader?
Oof, that's, I think I'm still learning. This
Yeah.
is an ever evolving. I wish that I could tell you, I'd love to be like, hey, I'm the guru of solving problems. I kind of laugh sometimes. I'm like, I am not even qualified to problem solve, but somehow I've become the problem solver of my region over here. But one thing I can tell you, and this is something that I do all the time, is I never give an answer up front, ever. I know they want an immediate answer. So someone will come and they'll want something immediate gratification. But I do know the way that you feel right now is not going to be the same way that you feel tomorrow or next week. So I will never give, if they're looking for whatever the problem is and they want to answer right now, I'll never get all my answer is, let me gather my thoughts, let me sleep on it, and let's come back to this tomorrow. And 9 times out of 10, the wind has gone out of their sails, they've calmed down, and then we can speak. Because when people are upset, they make irrational decisions. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, you can disagree, but you can't be disagreeable. And that means arguing, belittling, berating. It's not, for me, it's not whether, because I told you I serve them, they don't serve me. So it's not about who's right or wrong for me. It has nothing to do with that, because I still have to work with them every single day. It's about being workable. So when I'm dealing with a million different personalities and I don't necessarily agree with them, or I'm not seeing eye to eye, I take a deep breath all the time. I always take a deep breath. I don't love confrontation, but the other thing I do is I try to consider the person and what's going on. You never know what's going on in the background of somebody.
Yeah.
You have no idea. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know if, somebody in their family was just diagnosed with something, if they're having
Mhm.
spousal problems, if they're in a financial deprivation. You just don't know. So I try to be mindful of that and always just listen. And that's why, what do they say? God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, because I try to listen. And then again, I'll reassess the next day. So I never make a decision when problems arise. I always wait it out a little bit.
I call you a problem action taker because when you say problem solver, it means every single problem you're going to solve. You may not solve the problem, but may have to move from it. And that's
Yeah.
solving the problem. You got 2 + 2 is 4, and you don't say 5. That's solving a problem. But business isn't like that. And that's what you're
Yeah.
saying. I love that.
Yeah.
You're a smart lady. Man, are you smart? So I'm going to ask you a really tough question.
Sure.
Probably not tough. So, what would you tell women that are listening to this now that are running a business or in a business, they have kids? What's some piece of advice you could give them?
I would say, don't worry about what everybody else thinks about you. For me, for so long, I was always worried about what everybody else was thinking, because I am definitely that disheveled mom that's coming up with, like, papers flying out of her purse. I'm usually late to what's going on. And just know that children don't come with a set of directions. So we don't have a manual on how to raise a child or how to be a businesswoman with children. There is no clear cut anything. And I would say, don't be so hard on yourself. I know that I beat myself up all the time because I feel like I'm dropping the ball on, if I'm getting the note home from the teacher that my kid is talking too loud, or, something is happening at over here at work. I try to remember that sky is not falling. It's not falling, unless, something detrimental is going on, but there's nothing that important that is impacting you. It's not. So take a deep breath. Know that it is okay. It is absolutely okay not to be 100% in every realm of your life. You want to get better, right? I always want to be 1% better than what I am, but I am my worst critic. And I think women in general we're just our worst critics. and we're critical of ourselves, we're critical of others. And I think for the most part, when you're running a business as a woman, we're striving so hard to play the role of a businesswoman. And it's funny, I hate to say this, but we're battling too. We're battling, like, being, I love when people are saying, they're like, all right, well, be confident, but don't be cocky. Look good, but don't look too provocative. And we're like by societal norms. But I would just say to any woman out there, be you. Like, there's nothing wrong with who you are. Be raw, be real. What you see is what you get. And in the end, you'll see that people will value that much more than you think.
If they don't value it, they get out of your circle. I
Yeah,
teach that
then
all
they're
the time
not,
to people.
it's not worth it.
Move them
Yeah.
out.
If they don't love you and everything about you, then honestly, they probably shouldn't be around you. And it's not an authentic relationship anyway. And you want to keep good people and authentic people in your circle, because there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. There's going to be good weeks, good months and bad weeks and bad months. But, again, nothing is that terrible, and the sky is not falling, and everything will be okay. And I try to remind myself of that. So it's the biggest advice I can give to any woman is don't beat yourself up. It's going to be okay.
And I love that. I learned a phrase 2 years ago when I was going through a tough time with emotions and stuff. What you think about me is none of my business. And I think about it all, say it all the time. And because it's really true. That's your thing. That's what you're saying. It's your thing. That's fine. I'm going to move forward with my kids, my business. That's okay. We don't have to have you part of my world. And that's serving them and serving you, which is hard for people to understand because you're not helping each other. So it's time to move on and, love them
And
from
that's
afar.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
okay. Clean out
perfectly
your
okay.
closet if you need to. It is okay
Yeah.
to let go of toxic relationships or chaos, because
Yeah.
when you have toxicity and you have chaos around you, you can't function, and it's very hard to be productive when you have all of this going on. So I try to keep all of this to a minimum, because all of this exists on a daily basis between being a mom and a businesswoman and everything else to everybody else. So, if we can keep all of this and all of this over there, then it makes it a lot easier.
That's so well said. We've heard a lot about you. We're kind of getting at the end here, but a big question that popped in my head is what does Mara's future look like?
Oof. So what does my future look like? Well, my personality is big. And I really feel like I want to positively influence every single person that I meet in a big way. So hopefully, not hopefully, I will, not hopefully, I will get out into not just, nationally, but internationally, and get that message of authenticity and talk about things that we don't really want to talk about, because it's okay. And not only women, just people in general. So when I think about my future and what lies ahead, is I want people to be more authentic and more vulnerable and real. And when we have that, and we have that authenticity and that realness, you're right, between the filters on social media and the ability to alter and cut and paste, I think so much of that has been left to the wayside. And when we are more real about who we are and what we're doing, it just makes everything in general a lot better. So when I look in the future, that's really the message I want to get across. I want to use my voice to influence people to be real and to be influential, and to do it in a positive way. We have so many bad things going on in our world, so many uncontrollable things, but the one thing that we can control is the way that we react and the way that we are within. So when you ask me that, that's really what I see. Is I just see a bigger picture for everybody in general, but a more authentic picture.
Beautiful message, beautiful future. And I plan to be part of that and help you grow and do the great things that you're going to do.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you for being on. You really showed us what a servant's all about and what a servant heart, a servant soul is. And hope listeners, you learn that, because Mara, there's not a lot of us out there, and I appreciate you getting it out there to the world.
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of this. I'm telling you, you just give me such a good vibe and such good energy. You make me want to serve everybody.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for watching. As I say at the end of my show, watch this again, get inspired, put it on the corner and listen to her show every once in a while to get a little inspiration, a little motivation, and even get educated. With that being said, I'll see you guys at the next episode, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you all.